Welcome to November's Bayou Reefkeeping Tank of the Month. This month, we went as far east as we've been to Ocean Springs, Mississippi to visit Jake Bookout and Chief Reef Corals. Come join us to see what's going on out in Ocean Springs with Jake. Welcome everybody. We're here at Jake Bookout's house here in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Really excited to not only see his main tank, but also some of the side tanks that he's got going on and talk a little bit about his business. Jake, thank you so much for inviting us into your home.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all coming.
We enjoy this and we're going to have a good time here. So first off, let's start with some background. What first got you started in the reef industry?
My neighbor, Fernando. So Fernando lives right beside me. He, roughly 6 years ago, was getting rid of a 50-gallon tank, and it was all hang on the back. And I always enjoyed looking at his fish tank, so he asked me like, hey, do you want to get into the hobby? And what made me want to get into the hobby is that I lived in Hawaii for 3 years in the military.
Oh, wow.
So I used to swim with schools of yellow tangs and
scuba, snorkeling, or just swimming?
All of them, really.
All of it.
But so I've always missed being in Hawaii. So getting into the hobby kind of gave me a piece of that. And so that's pretty much how I got started, was through my neighbor. And he likes to say that he created a monster. So.
Well, along the way, besides your neighbor, who is obviously a very big influence, who else has been an influence for you in terms of what you're doing in the reef?
There's a gentleman named Seth, and Seth, I don't know how to pronounce his last name properly. I believe it's McCullough, but he runs one of the largest Facebook groups for Euphilia. It's Euphilia Kings or Euphilia Freaks.
Yeah.
Just a great guy. We connected a couple years ago, and he's the one that gave me that breakthrough to get from that kind of a novice hobbyist to, I wouldn't say expert level, but definitely above average, having knowledge and how to heal torches and things like that. So yeah, he's been another big influence for me.
How long have you been doing the hobby? How long?
About 6 years total.
And the tank behind you, has it been here for that full time? Was it the first thing or no?
No. So the 50-gallon Fernando gave me was my first tank. And this Red Sea, the tank itself has been set up for about a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years. Before that, though, I had a 180-gallon system, and I basically moved that entire system into this tank. So yeah, it disrupted the bacteria a little bit and stuff, but essentially like the same rock, the same sand, all that went into here. So the total time for this system to be running about 3.5 years for the display tank. And
when was it right away that you knew you were going to start a business with it? What kind of motivated that along the way?
So I've always enjoyed sales. Even since I was a little kid, I used to mow yards, and I've started different businesses like that. The breakthrough, you could say, with what made me start selling coral, I believe Fernando, my neighbor, brought somebody over that was looking at his tank, and he said, hey, my friend wants to check your tank out, because I had some cool corals in there. And his friend asked, hey, how much would you charge for like some of these zoas or whatever it was? And so I cut a little chunk off and maybe made 30, 40 bucks. And that's when that light bulb moment went off. Because I've been buying things off of eBay and other auctions and things like that. So I knew how it sort of worked. And then I actually saw it happen in real time of making some money from something that I grew in my tank. So yeah, when that happened, it just, like I said, Mr. Fernando, my neighbor Fernando, he says he created a monster. And everything I do, I try to go all in. That's what I'm really big about, is not, my stepdad always would tell me, don't half-ass anything. If you're gonna do something, do it right the first time. So I grew up with those principles. And so when I decided to go into this on the vendor side, I said, I'm gonna take it full notch. And it took off with it.
Awesome. So. That's great. Who else would you say are any kind of influences, whether people or, you know, companies, et cetera, along the way from an industry perspective?
I'll mention another close friend of mine, Nick Shannon. He lives in New York. He and I met a few years back. He was really just a part of my group. I was doing an auction one night, a live auction. Nick is on the live and he was just helping. He was like, hey, if you want, I can start helping you keep track of the winning bids and stuff. And so we connected, ended up forming a partnership, and we ran that for about a year through Corals R Us is the company we made.
So is Nick the guy that runs Corals R Us?
He is. Yep.
Okay.
And he's a good guy. He's about 10 years younger than me, and it was challenging running a business through basically opposite sides of the country.
Yeah.
We learned a lot of things though about running business in general, and we didn't end on bad terms. We just both collectively agreed, hey, this has been a lot of strain. Let's just run our own groups. We'll still stay friends and stay in touch. And we have. I talk to him all the time. And so he's just another person I met through the hobby that I would have not met, you know, had I not been in this. And that's one of my favorite things, is meeting so many amazing people along the way. But as far as organizations, WWC's been a big influence. I used to look at their website to gauge pricing. That's one of the hardest things when I first started, was trying to determine how much do I charge for this piece, because the market's all over the place.
Yeah.
And the reason that is because you have large companies like Worldwide Coral, Top Shelf Aquatics. They have so much overhead running this large store. They have to charge top dollar to make it worthwhile. So, and then you have vendors like myself that I don't really have too much overhead besides supplements and things like that. So I can afford to take hits here and there. And then you have other hobbyists that just sort of sell coral as it grows. You know, they're not a vendor, but they're making some side money here and there. And so that is what creates so much confusion with the pricing, because you see a stratosphere Zoa, maybe one person sells it for like 40 bucks, and on WWC is going for 200. Okay, well, what's the price of that? You know, so that's something that is, I've gotten much better as far as determining pricing and what's fair value and things, but it's still, I don't think it'll ever change. You know, it's just something that we deal with in the hobby.
Well, and I think marketplace has, you know, where you are located has a lot to do with it.
Oh, yes.
Because I know people, I've been around the industry a long time, and I know people in the DC area where there's a ton of reefers, and the prices of things there seem much higher because there's a lot more demand, whereas, and there's a lot more money obviously as well, whereas, no offense, but we're in Louisiana and Mississippi. We're not the, you know, this isn't downtown New York City by any means.
And that is true. I've come across people that message me, hey, do you have this certain type of Zoa, whatever? And in this area, it's like kind of common, you know, like you can get, pretty much everybody has this type of whatever. But for some reason in this person's area, they cannot find it anywhere, so they're willing to pay top dollar. So yeah, that's exactly right.
Interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit about the equipment that you have, and I'm going to start with the tanks. So tell us about the tank that's behind you. What's the size, dimensions, brand, and then I know you've got a couple other tanks as well we'll be looking at and taking pictures of. Tell us about those at the same time.
Okay, so this is a Red Sea 725. It is 180 gallons as far as the tank itself, and then the sump is another 40 gallons.
Okay.
So what's that, 220 total? So I know that Red Sea got a lot of hate over the past 5 to 10 years for the seals going out. And I was concerned about that when I got it. When I got this tank, it was from a friend who was moving across the country, and she really hooked me up. She allowed me to just acquire it. Actually paid a moving company to move it down here to my house. Getting it on the stand itself was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was able to essentially pay her some money as I sold certain pieces of equipment and things out of my other tank that was here. So it was in great shape. I was not too worried about the seals going out. I mean, it's been doing great ever since. I love the way Red Sea, the way that their plumbing is laid out. The tanks are just beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they're very well made. So I love it, and I vouch for Red Sea. And I think that, I mean, I wasn't in the hobby 10 years ago, but I want to say that those tanks made 10, 15 years ago, those were the ones that had those seal issues. I vouch for Red Sea. They're great tanks, good quality. The lighting that I'm using, they're AI Hydra 32s, and I'm also running an AI blade with those. The AI blade helped the colors to start popping in my SPS. So I love AI. I love the AI blades themselves. They're super cool, especially how thin they are and whatnot. As far as other equipment, I have a algae reactor.
In the big tank here?
Yeah, in the sump. That was a game changer for me with SPS. Just like many other hobbyists, I struggled to keep high-end acros, or at least they may be alive but not colored up. You know, I'm just wondering, how do you get these colors and all this stuff? It's being able to have or control your nutrients.
Yeah.
And the algae scrubber or the algae reactor is what does that for me. So you have Chaeto or whatever type of macroalgae you want to put in there, and it's got its own pump. It pumps water through. You turn the light on the opposite schedule of your main light schedule, and right now it's slam full of macroalgae.
Wow.
So that's what soaks up all the excess nitrates and phosphates and whatnot.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. What about the tanks in the frag room is what I'm going to call it?
So I have 2 different systems in there. There's 5 total tanks. On this wall beside us, there is 3 tanks that go across the wall. 2 of them are low boy systems. They're only like 7 inches tall. And then there's another one in the corner that's about 15 inches tall. It's like a cube. But all 3 of those are plumbed together into one sump. And pretty soon I'm going to get a bigger sump, just because if all 3 of those tanks turn off at the same time, that water level is like very, very close to overflowing. So yeah, I'm definitely going to upgrade the sump. And then I have the other 2 tanks in there. One of them is a 75 gallon, and the other one is I believe a 25 gallon cube. And pretty soon I'm going to plumb that cube into the same system as that 75. The 75 right now, I'm in the process of transitioning all of my Euphilia over to that tank. And then the 2 double low boys, I'm going to just have all my Zoa grow out colonies and stuff. And that corner tank, I might make that my anemone tank. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, it's the main issue with me being a vendor is having the space.
Yeah.
You know, so I try to.
Seems like there's never enough.
Right. I try to stay with keeping more of the high-end types of coral. I just don't have space for like lower end or more common types, just to be growing crazy in there. So
Makes sense. So you mentioned you have AI lighting in here. Is it also AI lighting in each of the other tanks as well?
on the 75 gallon, yes. Basically the same setup that I have here. There's 3 AIs in that tank with, there's actually 2 AI blades. One of them is the glow and one's the grow. I just put those on earlier this week. I haven't turned them on yet, so I'll probably do that today once we finish this. The other ones, I had Reef Bright, like 72-inch long Reef Bright LED lights. I got rid of those and I upgraded to Orphec. Huge fan of Orphec.
Yeah, me too. I like their lights a lot.
On the low boys, I have the Orphec Atlantic Icons. Amazing lights. And I don't know if we're gonna go into that room here in a minute or not, but you'll see they even look just crazy. Great quality. The spectrum is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And I have the Orphec Atlantic Compacts on that corner tank in there. It's not hooked up yet. I got to upgrade I basically have to put a new kit to where I can control it with my other lights, like Wi-Fi and all that.
Yeah.
So right now it's on a stand, but it's not on.
It's not being used. Yeah.
I have a Red Sea 160 LED that's actually on that right now.
Do you know what your par readings are, in the tank behind you, or?
So the par level, when I added the AI blade, I didn't realize how much that was going to raise my par. So as it sits right now, up on the top of my rockscape where all the acros are, I'm getting around 350 to 400.
Okay.
On the sand bed, it's sitting around 150 to 120. Depends on what area of the sand bed. So this display tank, the lights work very good.
Yeah, that's a lot of par.
And then on the low boy systems, the double low boys, those I'm sitting around 150 to 180. And that's just all the way across because they're shallow low boy tanks.
And then what are you using for filtration? Skimmers, I'm assuming. You talked about the algae reactor, but skimmers, what kind of skimmers do you have?
Multiple types. I have a Reef Octo on the triple system. I have a Bashia skimmer that's on the 75 gallon. In here, I actually don't remember the brand. It's a very, very good skimmer I got from one of my buddies, but I don't even think it has the brand on it, so I just never really looked into it. And then I run filter socks.
Okay.
So I want to look into getting the filtration,
Those reef
the rollers,
the reef rollers.
But filter socks, they do a good job for me. I actually pretty much use the same ones over and over. I just pressure wash them. I have like a designated pressure washer that is just for cleaning the filter socks. So I don't use soap through it or any of that stuff. Because I don't want to have, like, say a job that I'm doing, pressure washing something with chemicals, and then I start hitting the filter socks with it, and now I crash one of my tanks. So anyway, it's designated just for cleaning the filter socks.
What about return pump? What kind of pumps are you using, for the returns?
So this system, I'm running a Vectra L2, and those are very, very good return pumps. The other ones, I have 2 E-shops on the triple low boy system, and then a Reef Breeder return pump on the 75 gallon.
Okay. Are you using controllers in any of the tanks?
Apex.
Apex?
Yep. I love the way the Apex interface is laid out as far as just controlling things. I'm not a fan of the Trident auto tester. I've tried them. It was never able to stay accurate for very long at all.
How long? I'm just curious. How long ago was the last time you tried one?
A Trident, 2 years ago, probably.
Okay.
I know they came out with new ones.
Well, and I think the calibration has really, as an existing Trident user, I think their calibration methods have improved.
Okay.
Look, they're not. I would never rely on it as the sole source of testing.
Yeah.
But in terms of like day-to-day variances, it's helpful for a guide. Hey, my phosphates are up, or hey, my nitrates are up, or hey, my alkalinity is up. But
let's check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I may look into it then. But I just use Salifert, like the test kits that you do yourself.
Yeah.
I use those for the alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, And then for the nitrates and phosphates, I have the Hanna checkers.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty common setup that a lot of
Yeah.
people are using. Are you doing water changes?
Not many.
Not many.
The display tank, the display tank receives the less water changes, if any. I dose Alpha Reef. That was another breakthrough game changer for me. The 2-part is great, and I may have to go back to that for the display, only because the growth that I'm having requires so much Alpha Reef per day. And I know that at some point it's going to be wasteful as far as like trying to use, like right now it's over 100 milliliters a day.
Wow.
Just for this display tank. So compared to my triple low boy system where all the frags are, I'm only using like 30 milliliters a day, which is not much for me.
And is the Alpha Reef making up the alkalinity and the magnesium that's being, so that's basically your single dose system?
Just an all-in-one.
Okay.
And that, what was happening, my work schedule with the military at different parts of the year, it's just crazy. And using the 2-part, I would, as we pretty much all do, you sort of have to, you don't have time to maintain the tanks very much at some points of the year. During those times, I would have it get out of balance as far as like how much of the alkalinity I'm dosing and the calcium, magnesium. And a lot of times I've having to just spend so much time correcting it, dialing it back in. So the Alpha Reef helped me tremendously with that. Just having a busy schedule.
You are a candidate, for those of my buddies out there that are on calcium reactors, you are a candidate for a calcium reactor.
I need to look into it.
Takes a bit to get it set up, but once you get it dialed in, other than paying attention to when you run out of CO2, it's actually one of the easiest things as it relates to keeping your calcium alk and mag at good levels. Yeah.
Okay. I have one in my closet that I'm selling right now. I may just look at hooking it up.
You may look at hooking it up. Anything else that you're dosing into the tank? Any other maintenance, or just the Alpha Reef is the one thing?
Alpha Reef's the main thing. I also dose fuel. I sent off an ICP test about a month ago, and in all of my systems, I was low on 2 main nutrient levels: iron and manganese.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I did some research on them. I know that Goniopora, I believe it's the manganese that plays the biggest factor. And because in our systems, depending on what types of coral we have, the Alpha Reef may not be able to keep up with those two. It's obviously not able to, because nutrients get absorbed at different rates by whatever coral you have in your tank. So I'm having to dose manganese and iron by itself. And I could tell a difference. My Goniopora started looking a lot more happy, and I would highly recommend every hobbyist send off an ICP test every once in a while. And you may be surprised at what problems you're having could be solved by getting those results.
No, I'm a big believer in the ICP tests. And the one thing, and I've got this anecdotally, so that one of the things that Ron Olivier said when I did his interview was he seemed to have some specific ties to some of those elements and specific colors, in particular in SPS corals. I couldn't quote that, but he's a good guy to ask about that as well, and saying that this particular element brought out this particular color in his corals from a coloring up perspective.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in that. I just try to keep them all where the ICP test tells me to.
And I do want to look into, what is it again that you mentioned?
Reef moonshiners?
Moonshiners.
Yeah.
I really want to just try it out in one of my systems. I don't know how much time I have to because it seems like you just have multiple bottles.
Lots and lots of elements that are part of it. It is a bit time consuming for me, and I don't know what of the things that I've done, but the one thing that people say when they come look at my tanks is your polyp extension is like nobody else's that we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's a big health. So people see in my tank the polyp extension, and I don't know if that's what it's due to, but it's certainly something that I've added into my regular regime that really, I think the corals are very, very happy with.
You do the moonshine?
I do the moonshiners. I'm all in on moonshiners. I mean, I have, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 19 different elements that I'm adding to the tank. And some of them are small amounts, like 0.2 milliliters. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just try to follow with what that dosing regime is.
Okay.
It is time consuming, but I think my tank is benefiting from it. So
Okay.
I'm
I
supportive.
may pick your brain about it some and just check it out.
Happy to.
Another thing before we jump off equipment, which I want to mention this because I feel like a lot of hobbyists overlook this. You're having issues in your tank, maybe hair algae, maybe you can't gain control of your phosphates and nitrates, whatever issue you're having. I encourage every hobbyist to go back to the surface level or the very beginning of everything, the RDI water, right?
Yep.
I have a 250 gallon container in my garage. I did only have a 4-stage RDI system on it. About a month ago, I upgraded, not just with the 4-stage, I added a triple resin, or DI resin filtration system. But I just added that into that 4-stage. So I have 2 different types of carbon. The DI resin container that's on the 4-stage, I just added another smaller micron carbon filter. And then I have that triple DI resin filtration. Then it goes into the container. The TDS is 0, like 100% 0. That, I believe, not having good enough filtration on your RDI water, that's going to set you up for failure or just major issues in general. So if you don't do it right from the beginning, you're just basically setting yourself up for failure. So.
I completely concur. One thing we haven't talked about, which is real important for SPS, is flow. What types of pumps are you using inside the tank to generate flow?
I love gyros. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Gyra. I love the coverage that they provide. So I mainly run, I think that's really all I run is just the gyros. I know in this tank on the back side, I have one of those Neptune waves that's just sort of pulsing. And for the most part, just gyros.
Well, in terms of the gyros, which models do you have? Because there's a whole bunch of different models out there of the gyros.
Mainly Ice Cap and Max Spec.
Max Spec and
I have some J-Bows, or J-Bow.
Yeah.
Not the biggest fan of them. I think that company does a good job of providing affordable equipment. I love quality though, so it's just the way I try to have top-notch everything and all of my stuff. So, but yeah, Max Spec and Ice Cap are the 2 main ones.
2 big ones. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about parameters that you run the tank. First off, temp. What are you typically keeping the temperature at in your tanks?
78.3 is what I try, but between 78 and 79.
Okay, so that's where your fluctuation is every day. I mean, everybody's tank is, you can't keep it exactly at 78.3.
Yep. But I use an Inkbird. Those are excellent. Has an alarm if it goes past whatever threshold you have it set for. Highly recommend people to get an Inkbird.
Do you do anything for cooling?
I don't. So I keep my air temperature in the house around 72 to 70. So cooling's not really an issue for me. As of yet, I've not had to do that yet.
Okay, well that's good. We talked a little bit about some of the dosing, the Alpha Reef, but what are you running your calcium, alk, and mag? What's kind of your target levels there?
For my alk, I try to aim for 9 DKH. My calcium tends to be on the higher side. Typically it's between 350 to 400. And then my magnesium, I keep it around 1400 to 1500.
Okay.
Again, that's kind of on the higher side.
Yeah.
But the Euphilia especially, I feel like it loves that higher magnesium.
Yeah, that's been a consistent message I've gotten, especially from people who keep a lot of Euphilia. That keeps them happy.
Yep.
What about the 2 main, I'll call them nutrients / pollutants, phosphates and nitrates?
So the nitrates in this tank, they're very low, between 2 and 3.
Wow.
On nitrates, and then phosphates, 0.03 was the last reading I got. Probably lower now because that Shado and my algae reactor is really taking off. So that's what you have to be careful with, is that you don't bottom out those, because then you can cause dino flatulence.
Yeah.
And as far as the triple lowboy system, I don't have an algae reactor on that one, so those tend to be a little bit higher with those two nutrients, more around 10 on the nitrates and 0.1 on the phosphates.
Phosphates. Okay.
Yeah.
What about salinity? What do you run your salinity at?
Salinity, I try to keep it at that 35 it's PPT, I believe, and I don't really have issues maintaining it at that level. What
salt are you using?
I use the Aquaforest. I know there's a couple different brands of that. Aquaforest, in my opinion, is very reputable, trustworthy. So I came across a gentleman on Marketplace. He had like 3 to 4 boxes of it for a crazy low price, so I just scooped it up. I'm not a fan of switching my salts too often. I try to just stay towards one.
Yeah.
But I haven't had issues, not yet, as far as switching up different brands of salt.
Okay. Let's make a shift and talk a little bit about livestock. And you've got a ton of corals in both tanks and a fair number of fish. I'm going to start with the fish. Rather than listing all the fish, what are some of your top fish that you would highlight for everybody out there?
I love tangs in general. Blue tang, that was the first fish I ever had. I've been wanting to get a gem tang. That's on my list, and a black tang.
A black tang, yeah.
But yeah, the tangs, really any kind of tang, I really love. Wrasses, any sort of the rainbows and fairy wrasses I like. There's a crazy Easter egg looking, forget the name of it, I'll think of it in a minute, but it's an anthias, a Borbonius anthias. Okay, yeah. I had one in here. It randomly jumped one day while I was at work, which hurt very bad because they're expensive. But that's one of the coolest fish I've ever had. I do have a super cool fish in here that not many people have. It's a saltwater betta fish.
Oh, cool.
It's colored up pretty much like a gem tang with the black and white dots all over it. It's a very unique fish.
Awesome. Awesome.
So those are my main types that I enjoy.
And was the blue tang, which was your first tang, is probably your oldest fish that you have?
It is. It's in the 75 gallon in there.
And how old is he, just to be curious?
5, 6 years old.
That's awesome. I love to hear the longevity of the fish. Corals, again, there's no way you're going to be able to list out every single coral you have, but in terms of, and you've got a mix of everything from SPS to LPS and including zoas and some, I think some other softies. What are some of the ones that you would point out as your favorite corals?
The OG Holy Grail torch.
Yeah.
I'm a big torch hobbyist, so any sort of torch, especially the bright gold ones and the Holy Grail variants and whatnot, a huge fan of torches. I guess you could say, up to the challenge of keeping them. I know that a lot of hobbyists have trouble with the brown jelly disease and stuff, and I have had the same trouble, but I was willing to take on that challenge of overcoming that to where I could grow out my own torches, and I'm at that point now. I don't have to order anything. I haven't ordered any wholesale corals in probably, it's been over a year.
Wow.
I do some trades here and there with other hobbyists, but my torches, they grow at a rate where it can just keep a steady supply. And I'll frag the heads, and then after a few months, they're splitting again. And when you have a torch with 5, 6 heads on it and they're all splitting, you go from 6 to 12 heads like that.
Yeah, very quickly, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the torches, the Holy Grails and the Master torches. I do need to get another tiger torch. That's been on my list. And besides torches, I'm a big Zoa person. Zoas, the way, they grow pretty fast for the most part. Surprisingly, lately, it's been challenging keeping, especially the high-end Zoas. keeping them from melting. Zoopox and other types of bacterial infections play a big factor in that. I have seen that when I add new coral, sometimes it seems like it disrupts the bacteria within my system. So from the wholesale side,
Yeah.
you got to be careful where you get coral from. Definitely dip, and I mean, try to make sure there's no pests on it. I'm not a fan of getting torches from other people unless I can for sure see there's no flatworms on it. I scrape them with a razor blade for flatworm eggs. That's a nightmare I never want to go back to for that challenge, is overcoming the Euphyllia flatworms.
Wow. Yeah. That any kind of pest is just a major
And
thing.
mushrooms too. I'm a big fan of mushrooms.
Well, so you didn't mention, and most of the tank behind you is SPS.
Yep.
For me, who's an SPS guy, what are some of your favorite SPS?
The PC Rainbow,
Yeah.
it's this big red one behind me in the center. It's a fast grower and it's a colorful one. So that means if it grows fast, it's very colorful, it's a good seller.
Yeah.
You know? Besides that one, I have a rainbow splice I got from my friend Mike Tran in New Orleans, and it's growing pretty good now finally. So besides those two, I have Pink Cadillac in the corner. It's a fast grower as well and a cool color. So those are just a few of my favorites.
Awesome. Any inverts that you want to call out? I didn't see any clams, but you may have one in there that I missed when I was looking around earlier. Any inverts that you want to call out?
The red serpent starfish, I got that from a friend in the Florida Keys, my buddy Cody Daly, and it's pretty cool. Anytime I feed, it crawls over the rocks, and it's just cool to watch. And then I have I think it's a harlequin shrimp that
Yeah.
eats the little starfish.
Yeah.
I put one in here, and it looks like an alien, you know, just when it's chewing on those little starfish. Yeah, it just looks crazy how the legs move and turn and stuff.
And from a cleanup crew perspective, I'm assuming mostly snails. Do you keep any hermits or anything like that?
I do. A good mixture of snails and hermits. I have I forget the name. Some people call them zombie snails.
Okay.
They're the kind that bury in the sand bed, and
Yeah.
then you can see their little tentacle or eye poking out. Nasaurus, those are Nasaurus
Yeah.
snails. But yeah, a variety of snails, and mostly just the blue leg hermits.
Any crabs of any type in there?
I did have some emerald crabs, but they eventually died off, and so I don't have any crabs. I do have a red fire shrimp that's kind of looks like a cleaner shrimp, but
Yeah.
it's like blood red. And then I have some peppermint shrimp that I just put in my triple low boy system.
Okay. Let's talk about feeding. What do you do to feed the fish?
Mainly frozen food.
Okay.
Reef Frenzy is typically that's the food that I use. Recently, I just got some of the frozen foods that come in these cubes, like a pack of cubes.
Yeah.
Just a variety of those. And for the fish, that's pretty much just what I feed them. I will add some seaweed here and there, and every now and then I'll put some pellets in there just to change it up. And then for the corals, I use Fido, and there's another type of, it's not the Fido Feast, I think it's a Rhodey Feast.
Yeah.
For the acros. So those are like the main two, and then the fuel just sort of adds to the nutrients and whatnot.
And how often are you feeding the fish first?
About once a day, really.
About once a day. And roughly how much are you feeding them?
This display tank, I'll put like 2 of those cubes.
Yeah.
And then every other tank, just 1 cube.
Just 1 cube. And then on the Fido, are you growing that your own, or you're buying that from somebody?
I'm buying that, yeah. Just one of those things. I know people say it's easy to grow. I didn't feel like getting into it really.
Yeah, no,
I just have too much going on.
It's another thing. It's another thing
Yeah.
you have to take care of.
Yep.
I get it. Let's talk about challenges. In fact, you've mentioned a couple along the way, and I'd be interested in You talked about the Euphilia and brown jelly. Anything else in terms of what did you do to take care of it? What was the issue? How did you ultimately overcome it?
So my friend Seth, I mentioned that I met, he's running the, it's a Euphilia Kings, I think, or Euphilia Freaks page. He's the one that gave me the amount of knowledge and wisdom that when I was able to comprehend what he was telling me, it stuck with me and it sort of allowed me to go to that next level with handling an influx of torches that I'm keeping alive and growing and whatnot. A lot of people ask me when they come over, they're like, how do you sleep, man? Like, I'm nervous just to keep one or two in my display. You've got like 200 heads of torches. So you just kind of have that confidence in your system, which goes back to the quality equipment that you use. That's because I don't want to have to be at work and then worry about a cheap pump going out or something.
Yeah.
But as far as my friend Seth giving me the knowledge and wisdom, I started seeing coral more as a similar to how the human body is, in terms of the flesh on a coral. I mean, it's very similar to our skin. When you scrape it or you frag it, cut it, whatever, that's why you dip it. You're treating that because it's an open wound essentially. And I've treated my tanks with antibiotics. I've treated my whole system with Cipro before. It's an antibiotic.
Yep.
So in the same way we take antibiotics to get rid of a bacterial infection, it's the same thing for the ecosystem of your tank. You have to be careful with those because you don't want to use them so often that the bacteria in your tank ends up being able to overcome that antibiotic. So some people aren't a fan of it. It's helped me tremendously, especially if I've had a couple torches that brown jelly. Yeah, I feel like I get all of it out. I take a turkey baster and suck it off the heads, but sometimes that gets into other corals, not just torches. I've had a big turbo snail that died like 2 years ago, and it almost bombed my whole system.
Wow.
And I had no idea why. Just torches or brown jellying. I had random like acans, just nasty stuff coming out. And I'm looking everywhere like, what's causing this? And it's this massive Mexican turbo snail that was just rotting in my tank. So you got to be careful about putting stuff like that in your system because it could randomly die, and then next thing you know, you've got this massive bacterial infection on your hands and your system just going to crap. So antibiotics play a huge role for me. They have, as far as when I have those types of problems in my system, I'm able to treat it, and then I dose some probiotics like Macrobacter 7.
Well, I would say, yeah, so you say that again because I'm not going to be able to repeat it.
Microbacter 7.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a probiotic that you're using?
Yeah. There's other brands, but
Yeah.
you want to make sure once you treat it with the antibiotics, you are treating it after that with a probiotic.
And are you basically mixing that with salt water and dipping the coral in it? Is that how what are you doing when you say treating it?
Oh, I dose the whole tank.
Oh, you dose the whole tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when I have torches brown jellying in my system, there's a reason that's happening. It's not just, I mean, it's torches that I've been growing for years. So it's not like a new torch that just has some sort of issue. That means that my system itself has some sort of bacterial issue going on. So that's when I'll treat the whole system with Cipro.
Okay.
ChemiClean's another good one.
And ChemiClean a lot of times is used for, what's that algae? Cyano algae.
Cyano, yeah.
Yeah, have you ever dealt with that?
I've used it, yeah, I've used it before. My go-to is Cipro, but sometimes I'll switch it up and use ChemiClean.
Yeah, they're both basically the same. They're both, I shouldn't say they're the same. They're both variants of an antibacterial,
Yes.
And so do similar things.
And
Interesting.
this I mentioned about the correlation that I began to understand between corals and the human body. Really just the ecosystem of your tank in general. So think about this aspect. It's kind of mind-blowing. we dose these, especially you doing the moonshiner method. You have all these supplements that you're dosing to your system to get your tank to its best thriving state, right? The human body, we take vitamins and supplements and whatnot, vitamin D, magnesium, all sorts of things. And I started seeing that similarity between, if I'm feeling not at my best, I'm surviving, I feel like crap, I got headache, feeling fatigued, maybe my balance of nutrients in my body is out of whack. And the same thing is with your ecosystem of your tank. It won't be thriving, it'll be surviving. Maybe some corals doing fine, but you're losing other types, the color's going away. That's because it's lacking most of the time in certain nutrients. So that's when I was seeing that correlation between corals, or the ecosystem of your tank, and humans, the ecosystem of our body.
That's a really good analogy. I'd not thought of it that way. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Any other types of, outside of disease, whether it's something rusting and leaching in the tank, any other issues that you've had along the way that you would talk about?
Apstasia.
Apstasia, yeah. Well, I think all of us have dealt with that at one.
Yep.
And what was your way of dealing with it? Because I've seen lasers at somebody's house.
I have that.
I've
almost tried everything. So I have this like $400 UV type of laser light, and it does work. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
You have to hold it on there for about a minute, and when you have a bunch of apstasia, you're gonna be sitting there for a while. So I've tried the Joe's juice, other types of aptasia removal. Those, in my opinion, at least for me, I've noticed that it will cause that apstasia to die off, but then weeks or months later, it's like there's a bunch of baby apstasia that takes its place. And I think that's because maybe some of the tissue remains, and those eventually turn into their own apstasia. So not a fan so much of the liquid apstasia pest control. I've used nudibranchs, and those do work, but I have wrasse fish in my tank, and most of the time the nudibranchs just sort of disappear. I think the fish eat them. And so besides the nudibranchs, the next best thing, in my opinion, is the peppermint shrimp.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people have success with them. Let's talk a little bit. We haven't really talked a lot about the business, but I think you mentioned that what started you in the business, but tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the business right now.
So right now, it's still operating as a side business. There's so many members on my group that I feel like maybe don't know that this is not my full-time thing. I'm a full-time military recruiter. So
you have a day job on top of your
the side business. Yeah. And it's a lot to keep up with at times. I try to have as much equipment as I can have that's automated, Wi-Fi controllable. That helps a ton, just to alleviate the stress of maintaining everything. To be able to look at the app, like the Apex app, and just make sure, okay, everything's going good. So besides that, at certain times of the year, I'm able to focus more on the business with the corals, with Chief Reef corals, compared to, like say right now, actually, October 1st is when the military fiscal year restarts.
Yep.
That's when the new budgeting gets put out. That's why we went through the government shutdown. So that's when my mission resets as a recruiter. And I tend to aim for making my mission, my quota for the year, around April to May timeframe, which I have been doing most years. So October, November, December, those are my most busy months of the year. So Chief Reef corals tends to take a back seat to that, and you won't really see as many live auctions and whatnot. So I run raffles on the group, I mean, I have 1,200 members on there, and here lately I've had a hard time filling the raffles up, and I've been trying to figure out why. You know, I'm like, is it too many seats so people don't like the odds? Is it too much per seat? Or is it just not the right coral that people want? Raffles are challenging to fill sometimes, and that can sort of cause like sometimes it's hard to maintain that positivity and that momentum when a raffle takes like a month to fill up.
Fill all the slots.
Yeah, you'll be excited like, oh, this was going to be a really good one, and you only fill like 5 seats, and like nobody else is buying seats. So could have something to do with the economy, who knows? But I try to just put the best of the best stuff in there.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I've heard from a number of the other coral vendors over the last few months. It's been harder and harder to, effectively keep the same level of business going in whatever it is that they're doing.
I do try to separate myself from every business I've ever done. I look at it in a way of what's going to make the customer come to me versus someone else.
Yeah.
And when I take that approach, I said I want to set myself apart, raise the standard in every area that I can when it comes to shipping. I'm known in the hobby for my shipping abilities. You've received a shipment from me, I believe.
I have, more than one.
I can't remember if I had that in the 3D printed racks or not.
Yeah. Do you print those? Is that something?
I do. I have a bamboo lab printer. So I have the 3D printed coral racks or coral shippers, you could say, and I use everything that I can do. I pretty much pack and ship it as if it's going to be delayed by at least a day. I add pure oxygen to the bags. I used to use the cups, so those shippers, they fit perfectly in a U-line cup.
Yeah.
That used to be like the standard that I used. Very quick. Instead of rubber banding a bag, you just put the lid on, maybe tape the lid. The thing is, you can't add oxygen to a cup. And I've been actually trying to figure out, is there a way to do that besides like maybe oxygenating the water with a tube? Is there a way to create some sort of lid that's like a one-way seal where you can maybe put a line into that lid, add some pure oxygen, and then you take it out and it's sealed off? I don't know. Been kind of thinking on it, but
maybe somebody will watch the video and give you an idea.
Yeah, that's why I use bags. One, more water volume in a bag, and I add pure oxygen to where it extends the life of that coral being shipped. So
no, I think that's a very important thing, and that's great that you're taking the care when you ship something. You mentioned 1,200 people. I'm just curious, what's the farthest that you've shipped a coral?
Alaska.
And it made it okay?
It did. I've shipped multiple times. My buddy John Bruno, he's a nut. I've noticed that not many vendors will ship to Alaska. It's sort of crazy to even think I can ship a box from Mississippi, which is on the east side of the country, and it makes it to Alaska the next day.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It's wild, but I've shipped to him a few times and never had any issues.
Well, and I got to ask the question because, we used to live in Louisville. You were probably aware of the UPS crash there. Are you using UPS for shipping, and has that affected you at all with that?
So I've tried both, UPS and FedEx. UPS, in my opinion, is the better bet, at least around this area. I make sure to take care of my UPS guys. I met one, Caden. He is a super cool guy. He was the driver that would pick up my boxes. And Josh is the UPS guy now. They play a key factor. There's been, especially the last month with recruiting being busy, I have both of their personal numbers. I'll text them in the beginning of the day on a shipping day, like, hey, is there any way you could pick up these boxes? I may not be able to make it in time to the store before the next day air is cut off for the day. Yeah. And they just make it happen. So I make sure I take care of them.
That's awesome.
Yep.
A good relationship with the people that are, so to speak, keeping your business alive.
Oh yeah, because they're not. they don't have to do anything that they go above and beyond to help. They just know, hey, this guy ships out coral. It's kind of fascinating to them, but just great people. And I love UPS in this area. It's been great.
What about, what's kind of on the radar? What's the next big thing, either for Chief Reef Corals or for you with the tanks in general?
So I've debated about getting involved with bringing in fish. I have wholesale connections to order, any type of fish you can think of. I'm just not quite sure if I want to start doing that yet. Shipping fish is a whole different thing. Same process, putting it in the bag and you insulate it the same, add oxygen, but I've just not quite been ready for it yet. Importing is another thing. I need to gain some connections overseas. That might require maybe taking a trip out there with a friend that's already has some connections. I'm not sure, but I know that importing is that next step in the business aspect from cutting out that middleman, being the wholesaler.
It's interesting that you are thinking about fish, because when I did Brian's interview, he had basically said, I'm getting out of the fish, the fish business, because he said, it's one thing for me to treat corals, but it was another thing for him to have to deal with fish disease.
Oh yeah.
And it's like he said, I got to have separate setups just for the fish.
Yeah.
And it was just something he said, it was just too much. He said,
Yep.
he loves corals. That's what he was focusing on. So we're along the Gulf Coast here. This is something I ask everybody. So if a hurricane comes through, what happens? What's your plan?
Generator.
Generator.
So I would love to have an in-home generator. When I finally do build my dream house, I'm gonna have that for sure. And I'm gonna have my plan is to have a separate bonus house, you could say, but kind of like a mother-in-law suite sort of setup.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be designated for the corals. But that generator this past year has saved my butt probably 5 to 6 different times. It snowed last winter and power was out for a couple days. It saved me there. And we've had power outages in this neighborhood randomly over the past few months. And the power will be out for 12 hours at a time. And each time I'm like, all right, let me go get the generator. And I only hook up the bare minimum. So the return pumps, the wave makers, the heaters, that's like the key parts.
Things, yeah.
As long as it's not out for more than a day. If it is, I'll hook up the lights. But yeah, that's all I run on it, just to keep the water flowing, keep it temperature regulated. So the generator it's a lifesaver.
Yeah, I think it's a must-have, especially in this part of the country. Although I'm sure if you lived in the Northeast and you had snow all the time, you'd probably think the same way.
Oh yeah.
So along the way, I'm sure you've gotten a number of pieces of advice, tips, things. What's one thing you would share with everybody listening out there that you feel like was the best piece of advice that you got?
I may have to think on that for a second. The best piece of advice, stability.
Okay.
Stability. When I finally understood, yeah, you want to have your parameters in a certain range, but you don't want to chase the numbers to a certain extent. It comes to a point where if most of your numbers are pretty good in good range, don't chase, to bring your nitrates down from 10 to 5 or whatnot. Stability. When I understood that, kind of a light bulb moment, and that's when I saw my corals start to just go to that next level in terms of growth and coloration.
Awesome. All right. Well, my last question, which is my favorite, I always stump people with this one. If you've watched the videos, you knew it was coming. What didn't I ask you that I should have asked you along the way?
That's a tough question.
And it's okay if the answer is nothing. There might be something on your mind that you wanted to talk about that I didn't mention in any of the questions, anything like that.
Maybe, I think you did ask me how long I've actually been in business as a vendor. I don't know. I can't really think of anything.
Okay.
If
Well,
I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do. We're happy to add it after the fact, even if it's like text at the end. We'll put it right here under this last
Maybe how did I talk my wife into letting me take over half the house with fish?
That is a good. I think there are a lot of people who might pay you money for the answer to
Yeah.
that question.
She's been super cool about it. At first, having to explain to her the investment side, getting the LLC, investing into the right equipment, it took a lot. But she had that trust in me and the faith that, hey, something good is going to turn out with this. So we took that leap of faith, and now we're reaping the benefits of the growth with the corals and whatnot. And so yeah, but we lost our dining room completely to shipping and holding the spare equipment. So I want to kind of get that. That's why when I build a house, I want to have a whole separate place.
Yeah, just for
Just for the corals. That way we can actually have a house where you don't walk in the front door and get hit in the face with a reef room. It's got 7 aquariums in it. Even though it's cool, a lot of people are just kind of like, whoa, what is going on here? So, but yeah, that's probably just what I'm sure a lot of hobbyists face, that is having the spouse that's like, okay, it's kind of getting out of control. We got 8 fish tanks in the house now. When is enough? So
I hear you. Well, look, Jake, it's been a real pleasure to have the sit down and have the interview with you. Really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to take some pictures of the tanks. Thank you very much for having us out here.
I appreciate you, brother.